Good morning, everyone. My name is Rachna Singh, and I'm MLA for Surrey Green Timbers. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the territory of the Coast Salish peoples, the Samiamu, Ketsi, Kwantlen, Kwikwetlam, Kekite, and Swasan First Nations. We respectfully thank them for their ongoing stewardship of these lands where we work, live, and grow. I'm thrilled to be with colleagues and friends today for an important announcement in our community. We are joined today by Premier EB, Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon, MLAs, my MLA colleagues. We have Harry Baines from Surrey Newton, Bruce Ralston from Surrey Whalley. We have Gary Bagg from Surrey Guildford, and Jagru Brar from Surrey Fleetwood. We also have Robin Henry of Kikino Native Housing Society, and Philip Gladue, a current renter here in Surrey. We are here to share some great news about increasing affordable housing supply for people in British Columbia. And without further ado, I would like to call upon Premier David Eby to say a few words.
Thanks, Rachna. This will just be a few minutes. There we go. Thanks, Rachna. It's great to be here in Surrey. You can't see if you're watching us virtually, but behind the cameras, I see local MLA and Minister of Forests, Bruce Ralston. I saw my colleague, Jagrup Brar, Minister Jagrup Brar, Harry Begg, Gary Begg, Harry Baines, Gary Begg, two different people. Gary Begg is here, the caucus whip, and hardworking local MLA. Harry Baines, Minister of Labour, and and I got Jagrup Brar. Hard to miss him here as well. Thanks everybody for joining us. It's great to be here, and thank you to Kikino for hosting us for today's announcement. You can see behind me the Sequoia development going up. A bunch of folks working hard to get that ready. Working together on this site, we're able to deliver more than 100 units of housing, affordable housing for people here in Surrey. Just one more example of our government's work to deliver housing for British Columbians that's actually affordable for them. And also, for many people, the difference between homelessness and having a high quality of life in a community that cares about them. So thank you to Kikino. The housing crisis is really impacting people in our province, and even if you earn a decent income, finding a reasonable place to live is a challenge. Our government is working at every level of the housing crisis, providing housing for people with middle income who work in our communities, teachers, healthcare workers, and others, just who keep our cities moving. And also, there's a group of people that really, when they face the housing crisis, it's the difference between having a home and not having a home. People on a fixed income, low-income seniors, people living on disability, people living on social assistance, and single parents. There are lots of folks who are very, very vulnerable right now in our province. And there are a couple of different proposals about how we address this issue. One is, hey, you're on your own. Figure it out. We've seen that model in British Columbia. It resulted in sweetheart deals for developers and speculators. The BC Liberal government, now BCUP, sold off the Little Mountain social housing development, said it's better off managed by the private sector. While those buildings got torn down, everybody got displaced, a low-income community destroyed, and the field sat empty for years, which included an interest-free loan for the company to buy the property from the government. And guess who provided the loan? The government did. The government gave them the money to buy the property at 0% interest. They bought the property and tore everything down. It was ridiculous. We're not going to do that. We're taking a different approach. We're working together with nonprofit organizations, with the private sector, with municipalities, with the federal government, all of us together to provide housing that people need. And we are getting results. Our goal under the Community Housing Fund, which is a fund that's really dedicated for people who are living on those fixed incomes, people who are at risk of homelessness, to be able to get into housing, it has an ambitious target, an unprecedented provincial target of 20,000 homes complete by the year 2032. Well, the good news is we're halfway there. We've got 12,500 homes open or underway under just that one section of the work that we're doing. Today, I'm so happy to share that we're moving one step closer to achieving that remarkable goal. I'm here to announce that we have nearly 2,000 new homes on the way across the province of British Columbia, but particularly here in Metro Vancouver, 17 new projects through the Community Housing Fund that we're partnering with. These are new homes for families and seniors, new homes for former youth in care and women fleeing violence, everything from townhomes, smaller developments, to huge multi-unit developments that are part of over 40 projects across British Columbia for a total of 3,500 homes. Today's announcement of these 2,000 additional homes affordable for people, 17 projects in Metro Vancouver, is just part of the work that we're doing on housing. There is no one solution to the housing crisis. We have to go at this from so many different angles. Action to stop speculation and flipping, the new flipping tax and the speculation and vacancy tax. If you're leaving a home vacant as an investment, you have to pay more tax in British Columbia. Actions to address people who are turning homes that people used to live in and rent into hotel rooms by reining in Airbnb and VRBO excesses that we've seen. Speeding up housing approvals so we can build the housing that people need faster to respond to the massive population growth we're seeing in our province. Setting targets for housing construction with municipalities, again, to make sure that that housing is actually built. Building more homes near transit. When we're putting investments in the new Surrey Langley SkyTrain, for example, making sure that the housing that's built near those SkyTrain stations is actually affordable to people who actually use transit. Building more student housing on campus. Taking pressure off the local rental housing market and giving students the affordable housing option they actually want of being able to live close to where they're doing education. I know this list feels long, but trust me, we're doing a lot of work on housing. Protecting affordable rentals. We have the Housing Protection Fund that's buying up older rental buildings that are affordable for people, supporting nonprofit organizations to buy those instead of big corporations that evict everybody, and turning it over into the nonprofit sector to stay affordable housing for the long term and redevelop those sites, including the tenants, to support the tenants in staying on those sites in beautiful new homes. And then finally, BC Builds, using our public land, using land owned by the provincial government, the federal government, city governments, First Nations, to bring down the costs of rental housing and housing for purchase for people who earn middle-class incomes in our province. Sequoia shows what's possible behind us. You can just look at how amazing and transformative that's going to be for the people who get to move into this development. Today's announcement of 2,000 more homes just like this is one more step in our actions to address the housing crisis. Thanks very much for joining us today, and thanks very much to Kahlon for hosting us.
Thank you, Premier, for this amazing announcement. And to share more about what we are doing to tackle the housing affordability crisis, I would like to invite Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon to the podium.
It won't take as long as it took for the Premier, but it's making its way up. It's fantastic to be here. Thank you so much, Rachna, for your introduction. Thank you to all the amazing people that are here that made this project a reality, and the many folks across the province who are working hard every single day to work with us to address the challenges we're dealing with when it comes to housing. We know that housing affordability is a major challenge for many families across British Columbia. We know also that the ways to address the challenges we're seeing is through cooperation and through partnership. We are in a bit of a perfect storm when it comes to housing. We are dealing with additional increase in population. We also have global inflation, and we have rising interest rates. That's why it's so critically important that when we look to address the housing challenges, that we do that in partnership. And, I think that the Premier highlighted the four streams that we're focusing on. First, addressing speculation in the market, making sure that the homes we have are available for people in our communities. That's why the special speculation and vacancy tax is so important. That's why the flipping tax is so important. We need to ensure that homes are available for people here in British Columbia. The second is cutting red tape so we can increase housing supply. That's why we're allowing 3 to 4 units of single-family lots, having more housing built near transit, because we must build housing near the investments that we're making in our province. We have to protect our existing housing stock. The Premier mentioned the Rental Protection Fund. a fund that allows us to buy rental buildings to ensure we're protecting renters so they can stay in place, but ensuring that housing comes in the hands of not-for-profits. Amazing opportunity for British Columbia, and I'm certainly hoping the federal government joins us in expanding that program. And of course, the Premier mentioned this, we will not address the housing affordability crisis that we have without governments directly investing in affordable housing, partnering with amazing organizations like we're celebrating today. So I too want to echo the amazing announcement the Premier just made. 17 new projects, Vancouver, Coquitlam, Maple Ridge, Delta, communities beyond that will see new projects and housing being built in their communities. Housing that will ensure that there's shelter rates available, units that are shelter rate, units that also have rent geared to income, and will provide housing for people that are the most vulnerable, but also ensuring that we can continue to have the healthcare workers, the teachers, the police officers, the firefighters that we need in our communities. So these 17 projects today is an exciting announcement. I know that that my colleagues, the proponents, are excited across Metro Vancouver for this announcement, and we have a lot more work to do, and we're going to continue to do that work every single day. Thank you so much.
Definitely an exciting announcement, and thank you so much, Ravi. Now I would like to invite Robin Henry of the Kikino Native Housing Society to the podium to tell us about how community housing funding is benefiting their society.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this momentous occasion. This is appropriate. It's the first day of spring. It's nice and sunny, and what a better occasion than to announce the soon-to-be opening of 104 units for our Indigenous elders, families, and single people. Housing is a right, and no more appropriate for our own people on whose lands we sit, our traditional territories. So I want to thank Premier Eby, Housing Minister, where are you, my friend? Right behind me, and all the other dignitaries who joined us today, because it is really important. We started our work with Kikino years ago in the early 1980s. This here was our first project. I see some of the stakeholders and some of our people who worked with us on this wonderful work, and I'm really, really pleased to see it having continued to this day. And I look forward to working with the Premier Eby and his team to ensure that this important work continues now and into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Robin, and for your continued partnership in building the homes that people need. The housing development behind us is 3 months away from being completed and becoming homes for people. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your new housing project over the coming years. So thank you. Now I would like to invite Philip Gladden to share their story about navigating the current housing market.
First of all, I want to say good morning to everyone. First day of spring, like Robin mentioned here. But anyway, it's nice to be here today. It's a special day for me, personally, because when the subsidy housing started here in BC, way back when, in the early 70s, I was involved a little bit on that, and I'm still involved today. And what I see today from the provincial government doing real good work for us so that we can have a decent place to live and to raise our families, to raise our children. Children is a passion for me because I've seen the project that happened back in the 70s, where those children are today. Well, they're not children. They have their own children today. And a lot of them got educated and they moved on and they're independent. And that makes me happy to see these projects, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take the children. The children are actually opening the doors for us, because we need to protect them so that they can get educated and be able to live on their own with good intentions, healthy intentions, safety, and the elders to live in a place where it's safe for them. These places are starting to happen that way. And I'm really happy to be standing in front of this podium today and acknowledging our Premier here, the work that they do, and all the rest of them here. The work that they put in to make these things happen here in BC, the housing, that is our foundation for us to move forward as people of this province. So I'm happy to be here today, and also I'm happy that they offered me tobacco, because in our culture, in our respective ways, that's how we do it when we ask somebody to speak for us. So I'm happy that the minister here offered me tobacco for this session today. So I don't really have too much more to say, because I just wanted to stress out my own history of housing, especially this kind of housing, subsidized housing. Today, I don't work anymore. I'm a pensioner, but I think they mentioned that. You mentioned that even the pensioners are having trouble today, struggling to make it happen. But if we continue doing the work we're doing now, we can make it. We could be happy in a safe place for us to raise our children, our grandchildren, and so forth. So thank you. I said thank you to all of you for being here and to offer this day to us and to announce that there are more housing coming up. So thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Philip, for sharing your inspiring story. It also underscores that each action that we are taking and the impact it is having on people's lives. So thank you so much. And I would like to thank everyone again for joining us here today and all your strong partnerships. Really appreciate that. And that concludes our event for today. And now it is time for Q&A.
And thank you for joining us today. We have members of the media here in person, as well as those on the phone line. For those on the phone line, please press star 1 to enter the queue. All members of the media will be limited to one question and one follow-up. We're going to begin today going back to the phone lines with Katie DeRosa from the Vancouver Sun. Go ahead, Katie.
Hi there, Premier. I just want to know, in light of the Auditor General's report on the safe supply programs, last week we heard stories of hydromorphone being, seized by the RCMP. Do you have confidence in the programs? And also, are you confident that there's enough safe supply sites, especially in more remote areas of the province?
Thanks, Katie. We've received a report from the Auditor General about overdose prevention sites and prescribed alternatives. It's important to keep in mind the reason why we have this program. It's to respond to the remarkable wave of death we've seen in the province. I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 17,000 people who have died. And there are very few families and individuals across the province who doesn't know someone who's died of overdose. It's obviously devastating. The Auditor General recommends to us that we need to do more to ensure that these services to try to get between predatory drug dealers and individuals struggling with addiction, prescribed alternatives, overdose prevention sites, that they be more widely available throughout the province, that there be a standard level of care in this regard available across the province. It's important to note he's not saying stop the program. He's not saying the program doesn't work. He says he wants more of it in every part of the province. This is a challenge for us. It's a challenge to deliver healthcare in rural parts of British Columbia. It's a challenge to make sure we're responding to the rapidly evolving nature of this crisis. He says since 2021, the drugs have changed in their composition. He's right. They've gotten more toxic. The challenge is more pronounced. His advice is welcome to us in terms of any way we can improve the program, ensure that we're providing information to the public about why we're doing this, and to depoliticize the effort to save lives. The recommendations we hear from the other parties won't save a single life, and in fact, will put additional people at risk. And I think we all share the same goals about addressing any issues that may be in the program to make sure we have safer communities for everybody. So it's an important report. We take it very seriously. There are big challenges for us in delivering rural health care, period, and including in the areas where people are struggling with addiction at risk of overdose. And all I can say to him and to all British Columbians is we'll do all we can to ensure minimum standards of care for all British Columbians.
And Katie, you have a follow-up question.
When you see the response of that we saw, for example, in Richmond, when there was just the idea of a overdose prevention site, how do you encourage communities to get on board or to acknowledge some of the challenges that come with these overdose prevention sites while expanding them? Since the proposed government law on open drug use is basically saying overdose prevention sites are really the only place you can use drugs appropriately. So how do you expand them and at the same time not face the community backlash?
Well, the critical piece to my mind around any of these responses is that the responses meet the needs of the people in the particular community. And so for us, it's about being very to pay particular attention to the recommendations that we receive from the physicians that are doing the addictions work, from the frontline workers who are working with people. How do we meet people where they're at? How do we engage with them and ultimately get them into treatment? You know, we've opened almost 200 treatment beds this year alone. We've got the new seamless pilot program at St. Paul's Hospital that we hope to roll out across the province, where you enter the hospital with an overdose, but you go directly into detox, directly into treatment right on the site. That whole design came from those frontline service providers of how we reach people and how we lose people when they show up in hospital with an overdose or revived and then head out the front doors back into the street. So we're going to continue to listen to those voices. I think the Auditor General is right to recommend that we continue to work with our partners that have that frontline experience, and we're going to keep doing that.
Next question, staying on the phone lines, we're going to Rob Shaw from Check News. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, hey, Premier. 2,000 new homes today, and you read off a long list of changes to housing your government's made over the last 16 months. But 78% of people polled in an Angus Reid poll yesterday think your government's doing a poor job on housing affordability. So can you square that circle for me, given all of the things you've done and this reaction that is indicated in this poll?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. The real lived experience of British Columbians is that they're struggling to find places right now. They're looking on Craigslist for a place to rent that they can afford. They can't find it. They want to buy a place. They're looking at mortgages with interest rates we haven't seen for a generation against house prices that are still stubbornly high. The experience of British Columbians is that it sucks to be looking for housing right now. And so the pieces that we're putting in place and the housing issue generally, this isn't something that shows up overnight, and it's not something that's solved overnight. Our Airbnb regulations kick into gear in May. And even though they're not in place until May, already we've seen people being able to move into previously Airbnb units as long-term tenants. So we're seeing impact from that. Our new zoning requirements around municipalities come into place in June. And so people will start to see the construction of that kind of housing. The BC Builds projects that we're doing, that new program across the province, that is a fast-track program. Our ambitions are 18-month delivery of housing units on that project. So it was unfortunately decisions over a generation by previous governments that put us in this place. and we're not able to unwind and deal with all of those overnight. But we are leaving no stone unturned. And as these changes come into place, people will, I hope, just like the first day of spring here, start to see the importance of making decisions differently than previous governments did. And you can see behind me the evidence of some of this work.
And Rob, do you have a follow-up question?
Sure. Thanks. Just changing topics. Can you update us on the Surrey Police proposal from your government? A, if you've heard back from the mayor, and B, can you finally tell us the province's offer, given that it's public funds and taxpayer dollars and everyone's paying for it? So I don't think it's a reasonable argument to ask for the actual amount you put on the table, but can you address both of those things?
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. We're in conversations with the city of Surrey. They are, given the, I think it's fair to say, the acrimonious process we've been through with Surrey, we've reached an agreement with them that we're going to have this conversation between us at the table, not through the media. I think the goal that everybody has for the city of Surrey is when you call 911, you get a good police response, doesn't matter what the badge is, that there's a police officer that responds and that they're sick of this dispute. Our goal is to get past this with the city of Surrey. We're providing them with all of the information that we can, audited financials from the Surrey Police Service that show that their projected budgets are well within what Surrey can afford, assurances around the fear that they have that there will be huge and unexpected costs associated with the transition. And we're going to continue that work at the table. I look forward to being able to share with you the details as quickly as possible. We're hopefully in the final stages with the city of Surrey, but I'm going to knock on wood right now because it has been a long road.
We're going to come back to the floor here with a question from Jordan Chang from CTV News. Go ahead, Jordan.
Have you been giving any updates on the investigations into extortion attempts against businesses in BC, and how concerned are you about what's happening?
Thanks for the question. I mean, the examples of businesses here in Surrey, particularly, and in other parts of the valley, facing extortion threats is just one more example of why we need to put the Surrey policing dispute behind us and focus on the actual business of policing and law enforcement to ensure that communities are safe. That should be 100% of our focus, and we have been, unfortunately, back and forth about the model of policing with Surrey for a long time. So my hope is that we can get to resolution on that and then really redouble our focus on what really matters to the people of Surrey, ensuring that the community is safe. This issue of extortion of businesses and threats to business owners is one that is also a very identical issue has come up in Ontario. The national government, as a result, is seized. Police forces are working together between the two jurisdictions to address this issue, and they're continuing their work on it. I'm very concerned about it. Once you go down the road of businesses being asked to pay protection money, this kind of thing, it is very hard to get out of it. So addressing it quickly and aggressively to make sure that people are safe and to strike at organized crime will be a priority for our government and continue to be so.
We're going to go back to the phone lines with a question from Andrew McLeod from Tyee. Go ahead, Andrew.
There were a couple of things going on. One was rising incomes that they haven't recognized, and the other was
Sorry, Andrew,
ceiling.
You were cut off at the beginning. Can you start at the beginning of your question?
Yeah, sure, of course. Last week the seniors advocate flagged that SAFER grants haven't kept up. There are a couple of things going on. One is as incomes have gone up, it doesn't recognize that, and the other is that the rents it recognizes are capped at just over $800. And I'm wondering why you've chosen not to keep SAFER grants up with inflation of both incomes and rents.
Thanks. I'm going to pass this to the Housing Minister.
Thanks so much, Andrew. We know that more and more seniors are starting to face the real challenges when it comes to finding housing and just the challenges of affordability. BC Housing has just finished up in a review of the SAFER program. We have met with the seniors advocate. We are looking at how we can reform that to ensure that it meets the needs of seniors today. We have more to say on that in the coming weeks, but we are just just finalizing the review and an action plan going forward.
And Andrew, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, so I was going to ask you that review took a long time. I was wondering how you felt about how long it took, and I'm wondering too, is there just philosophically, like are grants like that a direction the government wants to go? I mean, it seems like, as you've listed today, there are all kinds of things you're doing on housing. Why isn't this one of the tools?
Well, this is one of the tools, and that's why we have the grant. That's why when we first came into government, we increased it by 48% because we know that there's a need in our communities. And, we have seniors who have helped build this province who are now struggling for housing. That weighs on us very heavily. And so that's why the housing today, which is opening up behind us, that's why the new 17 projects, so we can increase housing supply, and particularly for our elders. And of course, reforming the Safer Grant so it continues to work for seniors is a priority for us. Again, we'll have more to say that in the coming weeks, but ensuring that there's opportunities for seniors to remain in homes, to have opportunities for new homes is something that we take very seriously.
And we have one more question on the phone line. Alec Lazenby from BC Today. Go ahead, Alec.
Hi, Premier. So back to the Auditor General's report, I just wanted to ask, one of the concerns that many people have had about, say, the Safe Supply program or these overdose prevention sites is the lack of data. Your province, your government scrapped a promise dashboard to look at the Safe Supply program, to look at treatment services. Just wondering, what can we expect moving forward in terms of transparency around these programs to ensure that, communities and people feel safe about what's going on there?
Yeah, thanks, Alec. The Auditor General has provided specific recommendations around public reporting to the Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction, and they've accepted those recommendations. They'll work with his office around ensuring that we're providing all the information that British Columbians need related to this.
And Alec, do you have a follow-up question?
I do. Specifically in the Safe Supply program, the number of people receiving Safe Supply substances has dropped over the past year from over 5,000 to around 4,200. Just wondering why that is, and are there any plans to bring more people into the program, or to, you said you're not looking at expanding the drugs within the program, but looking at expanding the program itself?
So our metric of success is driving down the number of deaths that we're seeing, and that is our core focus. My belief is that we need to dramatically increase the availability of treatment and drop the barriers that get people into detox and treatment so they can rebuild their lives. This should be a significant focus for us, and it has been. We dedicated $1 billion in the budget to it. We've opened almost 200 new beds in the last year. We've got the new seamless care model pilot at St. Paul's that we hope to deploy across the province. And we're looking at other options available to support people to get into recovery and rebuild their lives. The drugs are more toxic than they've ever been. And one of the concerns that's been raised is for people struggling. Did we just lose audio?
I think we're good.
Are we all right?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the concerns that's been raised by some advocates is that there are drugs that people are using in the street that are quite toxic, and that we should provide some of these drugs through the Prescribed Alternatives Program, drugs like crystal meth, cocaine, crack, and other drugs. We are not going to do that. And the challenges of implementing a program like that, how it would work, are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of that direction. So we're really focusing on the best we can, supporting people to get away from the predatory drug dealers and the toxic drug supply, but really making it as seamless and easy as possible for people to get into treatment and rebuild their lives and address barriers, whether cultural, availability, or others related to treatment.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.